where you think you know what's happening and you really do not. Trust me, even if you're someone that likes to sit there in the theater and try to predict where a story is headed, don't bother. You are going to have no idea where this movie is going the entire time. Bing bong! So I did not at all know what I was getting into when I went to see Strange Darling. I went in completely blind, and even crazier, I hadn't seen any marketing for this movie. I hadn't seen any trailers or anything, except I was out for a run a couple days before the movie came out, and I saw a poster for the film, and I saw that it was from the people that had done Barbarian and Late Night with the Devil, two of my favorite recent horror movies, and so that's really all I needed to see in order to go check out this movie. Let me tell you, if you are able to see this movie without going in with any spoilers or any knowledge about what the film is about, then you are in for an absolutely insanely wild ride. This movie is one of the craziest, most subversive games of cat and mouse that I have ever seen. It is one of the most creatively done horror movies that constantly is swerving you and keeping you on your toes, and you truly have no idea where this film is going. But what I really wanted to talk about with a movie like Strange Darling is its ability to constantly subvert the audience. From the opening of this movie all the way to the end, you truly have no idea where it's headed, and one of those reasons is because it preys on whatever stereotypes or preconceived notions you might have about certain situations and ideas, and the way this movie presents those situations inherently to make you uncomfortable while you think you know where things are going. Trust me, you have no clue. This movie also does an incredible job of navigating the rule of the audience knowing more than the characters. It's one of my favorite things in movies, when you're essentially like screaming at the screen because you know what's happening and the characters in the movie are not quite as clued in. This movie does a great job of, most of the time, you're the one that doesn't know what's happening, and it makes it more engaging to sort of figure out where this film's headed. But when the time is right, this movie lets you know more than the characters, the specific characters in certain scenes, and that is instrumental to this movie's success. Those scenes are so frustrating to watch as an audience member while you know so much and the characters in them know so little. It truly does a 180 from the majority of this film, you having no real idea where things are headed most of the time. And I will say, this movie does kind of do that semi-cliche, it starts basically at the end of the movie and then rewinds immediately to the beginning, and the story is somewhat told out of order, which initially I did not think I was going to like. But let me tell you, the way it is done is so creative that I was locked in the entire time. So while this film is doing something maybe a little bit cliche, it's also trusting its audience to follow along and be focused throughout the entire movie, which I know attention spans are maybe not what they used to be, but a movie like this, you definitely want to be paying attention because something important is happening almost every single scene. And the acting in this film is also superb. It is an incredibly small cast with only two main actors throughout most of the movie, and they are fantastic. They play off of each other so well. All of their acting, facially, the way that they deliver their lines, you really have no idea where this story is headed. A film like this with such a small cast is incredibly reliant on the actors that it chooses to be in the movie, and the main actors are fantastic. The side characters are great. Everyone in this film is doing an incredible job of making it one of the most engaging stories of the year, and really that is my favorite part of a movie like Strange Darling, because I think that horror movies and thrillers, to a certain extent, they both need the characters in the films to be a little bit dumb, which maybe happens in this movie, but not quite to the same extent as it does in most other horror thrillers. But a movie like Strange Darling also dodges a lot of these cliches by truly constantly altering where you think the story is headed. And it's a lot of the preconceived notions that we have about a lot of situations socially that this movie truly takes advantage of in order to tell a really compelling story. But also one of the best, most creative horror thrillers that I can remember seeing. We get so many horror movies these days because they're just very cheap and easy to produce. Whether or not they're good or bad doesn't really matter. Most of them make money regardless. But for a film like this to come along and truly just be extremely captivating throughout the entire film. I was so curious where this was headed right up until the very end of the movie, which juxtaposes fantastically with the beginning of the film, where you think you know what's happening and you really do not trust me. Even if you're someone that likes to sit there at the theater and try to predict where a story is headed, don't bother. You are going to have no idea where this movie is going the entire time. It is so expertly subversive from beginning to end that it's truly an achievement. I think this is going to be one of those films that I'm thinking about for a very long time. If you are able to find it playing, I highly recommend it. If you're someone that is really into horrors or thrillers, or you've been looking for original films and just really well done filmmaking. I also want to shout out Giovanni Ribisi, who I know is an actor, and I came to find out that he was the cinematographer for this movie, and the movie is beautifully shot. It's incredibly well done. A lot of the scenes, you can tell, thought about how they were going to set them up and structure them visually. Giovanni Ribisi, I don't know if he's moved out of acting and he's going only into cinematography now, but he did an incredible job in Strange Darling. Once again, I highly recommend Strange Darling. If you're able to find it, please go support this movie. It is so well done. It is one of the best movies of the year. Easily, it may end up being my #1 film of the year. It's certainly very high up there right now. And if you have a chance to check it out, please go support this movie.